What is up, everyone? Happy Football Friday. A ton of news. We are ramping up here in training camp. Most teams already on the field. We're going to get pads on soon. Hall of Fame game coming up next Thursday. So a nice nice start to the preseason, as there has been nothing else on because I don't care about the Olympics except for women's soccer. Go Team USA. Kicked Zambia's ass the other day. Germany's up next. But a lot of news here, so let's get it rolling. We do have breaking news. Something that happened today, and it's one of many extensions that have been doled out in between our shows here. The Dolphins have gotten a deal done with their franchise quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, 4 years, $212.4 million extension, $167 million guaranteed. He gets another one for the big deal here. Yeah, so what was it, 53.1 per year. I believe he's now the highest paid quarterback, and I think deservedly so. I mean, I called out the Dolphins last year and thought Tua would do it, stay on the field, stay healthy, and he did, and had a pretty good season, and can only go up from here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping for that upside that has been kind of teased for most of the last 2 seasons. He hasn't really hit that peak efficiency due mostly to injuries. But you're hoping he can have a full healthy season. My big thing is I really do think he might take a step back for how kind of questionable that offensive line is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think the first year or two of this deal may be very, very iffy. But I do still believe in Tua's development. I think we haven't seen the best of him. But right now, you're handing I kind of feel the same way about this contract that I did about Trevor Lawrence's. Kind of a damned if you do, damned if you didn't situation. This is a guy you drafted hoping to be your guy. And yeah, I mean, if you didn't re-sign him, it would have shown you screwed up, but if you did resign him, you knew you had to make him one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. So yeah, it's a big deal. But he's still young. There's still a lot of room to grow, similar with Trevor Lawrence. So you're just hoping for that.
Yeah, and I think I always like to look at the other side, and like you were kind of saying, who would you get to replace him that's better? Right. So
yeah, unless you're completely tanking and hoping to get the top QB of next year's draft, there's no one within the next 3 years realistically.
Which there's no consensus right now.
Exactly.
We haven't played any games this year. That'll figure itself out. But right now, there's no consensus quarterback. Like we had kind of going into last year, where it was like, all right, Caleb Williams, far and wide the best. I think that's only real breaking thing. So move on to the rest of it. College football news. A couple things. The Big Ten Championship going to remain in Indianapolis through 2028. The conference getting a deal done with Lucas Oil Stadium to continue the championship there, and I think that's good. I think Indy provides a nice central location for really any team. Even now that they added the West Coast teams, it's a Midwest city, even though it is in Eastern time zone. But I think it's a nice spot, and kind of the same thing as the NFL Combine. It's really a great spot, is Lucas Oil and the city itself. Notre Dame, they are going to wear their Wolf of Wall Street uniforms on November 24th against Army at Yankee Stadium for the Shamrock series. Of course, the Army game. I don't really know what all the Shamrock series entails because I feel like there's been a couple different teams they've played in the Shamrock series throughout the last couple of seasons. But anyways, here is what they look like. And I mean, I really love these things. The kind of chrome gold is freaking awesome. I don't really know why it's Wolf of Wall Street, but
I think it's just plainly because it's in New York.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like them. The chrome gold is awesome.
Yeah, very solid look.
And Georgia continues to be in the news on the negative side. You know, we've had a couple more reckless driving issues, but this one I thought was notable, popped up today. Georgia wide receiver Ra Thomas arrested early this morning on charges of cruelty to children and battery. So not great. One of the top weapons for Carson Beck coming into the year. We'll see how his legal situation plays out, but yeah, not good. Luckily, though, for Georgia, they did hit the portal hard. Got 3 veteran wide receivers in the portal. London Humphreys from Vanderbilt among them, and so I don't think they're going to be hurting necessarily if Ra would have to miss a couple games.
Yeah.
UFL news, the Roughnecks, the Houston Roughnecks. So they have a new GM, Will Lewis. He has completely turned this roster over within the last week. So guys that they have waived, or they did these all in one fell swoop. Tight end Braden Bowman, tight end Woody Brandom, safety Jamari Brown, guard Shamarius Gilmore, running back Ezra Gray, safety Mr. Harriel, linebacker DeJuan Hines, long snapper Logan Klussman, punter Hunter Nicewander, corner Jai Nunn Lydell, safety Donald Rutledge Jr., linebacker Gabriel Sewell, tight end Clint Sig Jr., running back Mark Thompson, and safety Rashad Torrance II, all waived by Houston. And the guys they brought in, notable guys anyways, there was a bunch of other ones as well, but former New Jersey Generals offensive tackle Calvin Ashley, former Vegas Vipers running back Brian Burt, former Pittsburgh Maulers wide receiver Bailey Gaither, and Brahma's wide receiver TJ Vasher. Really excited for Bailey Gaither. I loved him with the Pittsburgh Maulers. Excellent slot player. Was surprised he didn't play in the UFL this year, but excited for him to get back in the fold next season. Also, Calvin Ashley was a all USFL player with the New Jersey Generals at tackle, and just did not find a spot in the UFL this year. But excited as well for him to get back on the field. And the UFL to NFL signings have picked up and workouts, but we'll start with the signings here. The Jets, they signed Showboat's defensive back Nehemiah Shelton. This is second year in a row that the Jets have signed Shelton. The Browns, they signed Panthers offensive lineman Chim Okorafor. Saints signed Stallions wide receiver Kevin Austin Jr. Falcons signed Brahma's offensive tackle Julian Davenport. Seahawks, they signed another wide receiver, Defenders wide receiver Ty Scott. Remember, they signed Marcus Sims, Michigan Panthers, last week. The Bucks, they signed Renegades tight end Sal Cannella. The Bengals signed a couple guys today. The Michigan Panthers defensive back Nate Brooks and Battlehawks wide receiver Hakeem Butler. I think that's a massive signing for Cincinnati. Obviously, you know, they got the T. Higgins thing going on, going to be a free agent next year. and they're looking for guys that they can develop for next season. Obviously, third-round pick Jermaine Burton is the biggest name of the bunch, but I also don't think the wide receiver 3, I think, is one of the bigger battles in Bengals camp. So, it's he's getting in a little late, but Hakeem Butler's a guy I expected to make a NFL 53 this year, just by the production he had with St. Louis. And the Carolina Panthers, they signed Roughnecks defensive back Keandre Thomas. Workouts for UFL guys here. The Carolina Panthers, they were working out a couple edge guys, defenders edge rusher Derek Roberson and Brahma's edge rusher Wyatt Ray. Lions, a triumvirate of UFL players, Michigan Panthers offensive lineman Jacob Burton, Battlehawks kicker Andre Schmidt, and defenders kicker Matt McCrane. We'll talk about the Lions kicker situation in a sec, and why they're working out kickers. Seahawks, they hosted Stallions quarterback Adrian Martinez. Patriots, Battlehawks center Mike Penasuk. Giants, Roughnecks quarterback Jarek Arantano. And the Browns, they host defenders tight end Briley Moore. NFL news, the Bucks, they announced they're going to wear their creamsicle uniforms October 27th against the Falcons. And most people know what these look like, but I couldn't find the Baker Mayfield one that I saw on Twitter, unfortunately. The summer of 79 one thing that I really enjoyed. But yeah, there you go. There's Bake and there's him on the field with it on. But yeah, creamsicle unis, one of the best, I think.
One of the best. Honestly, it's beautiful. It's the most unique uniform in the NFL.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we should bring back the Eagles 1930s blue and yellow ones. McNabb looked pretty good in that.
Those
so did Shady. Blue and yellow, baby. 1930s.
Oh. Every time I see a picture of those, I gag a bit.
And we'll keep with the uniform switch up here. The Jags, they are going to debut their white alternate helmet week 10 against your Vikings. So it would be really funny if the Vikes wore their all white, their ice uniforms. Just all white helmets across the field.
Yeah, let's fuck it up for our QBs. Good luck making a target downfield.
I don't think they're anything special. I mean,
they're just a flip. I like it because it's just.
I do like it on the black jersey. That's nice, color scheme there. But
I like that it's different. And the thing is, too, with the new rule of having a new helmet, Jacksonville has consistently had a similar helmet for most of its history. So the most they could really do is just change the helmet color. So I kind of like it.
They could have went all teal. Just saying.
That could have worked.
The Saints, they have hired former Raiders GM Dave Ziegler as a personnel advisor. He was an advisor last offseason as well, but now officially in the fold there in New Orleans. And his old team, the Raiders, wide receiver Michael Gallup has retired. They placed him on the reserve retired list this week. So that is a big blow, I think, to Vegas. I mean, they're another team that was really kind of lackluster behind the top two with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and Hunter Renfrow. They released him, and Michael Gallup was supposed to be that third guy, but now he is off the roster, and they might be one of the teams looking at cut down day to get some help in the receiver room. The Rams also officially placing defense tackle Aaron Donald on the reserve retired list. So he's officially done. Officially. And bad news in New Orleans, especially because of the drafting of Spencer Rattler this year. Saints backup quarterback Jake Hayner, he has been diagnosed with skin cancer. So hope all the best to Jake. Obviously, you don't know how serious it is, what and whatnot, but yeah, that's really bad news. Obviously off the field personally, but on the field as well. Like I said, with his battle to be the number 2 behind Carr with Rattler and I guess Nathan Peterman too. All right, holdouts or hold-ins for a couple of them, but holding out Jets edge rusher Hassan Reddick. He and Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, those two did not report to camp. They are holding out. Fined daily. I don't know what it is for Reddick, but I assume it's similar. I know they said CeeDee Lamb is $40K a day, which is nice. Nice chunk of change to lose every single day. And the 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, he did report to camp, but he is holding in and not participating in any practice. And the Cowboys are done, by the way. They have to be the stupidest franchise I've ever seen. Not just my hate for the Cowboys, but dude, like, why did you not pay CD already? Before
especially after Justin Jefferson signing.
Right. Before he got signed, you should have signed CD. That's what the Eagles do. That's why the Eagles are one of the best run organizations out there, because they get their players signed early, so they beat the market. They've done that with multiple players. But I'm not going into the Dak conversation because I don't believe Dak is worthy of the big contract. So,
I mean, if Tua is, I would say Dak is.
I like Tua better. I don't know. Injuries. So 49ers rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, he has a hamstring injury, placed on the PUP list. I believe he went from NFI to PUP. I don't think he ever got off NFI because he came in with an injury and then he got injured training, I guess, to come back, and now he's on the PUP. So we'll see how long it takes for him. And it is that time of year where players hit the field, they go hard, and the body breaks. Mm-hmm. And that is what has started to happen. And the ACLs have started tearing, as is the case. Vikings, first one of the year. Corner Mekhi Blackman, he has torn his ACL. He is done for the season.
Yeah. Second-year guy. He was a guy that had flashes last year. Very excited to see what he could have done this year. So already very slim corner field has just gotten worse.
Hey, man,
so it's just devastating all the way around.
Eagles will trade you James Bradbury. I got you.
We'll give you a 7th.
I'll set on a conditional 5th.
We'll negotiate later.
Okay. The Rams in the same boat as the Vikings. Corner Darian Kendrick. He is also done for the year, torn ACL as well. Same situation, second-year player, 6th rounder last year. They were high on him. Georgia Bulldog there, and he was going to be a starter on the outside opposite. I don't remember. I can't recall who the Rams are starting outside now, because I think Darius Williams is the other starter. So. The Steelers have made headlines in the last couple of days. Quarterback Russell Wilson, he has not practiced during training camp yet. He has a calf issue. Calf tightness is what I've heard. Day to day right now. And Russ made a statement and said it's not a big deal, and that he'll be back shortly. But all the freaking Justin Fields people are out there talking already. So yeah, not great. The Lions kicker Michael Badgley, he is done for the year, torn hamstring. So that necessitated the two UFL kickers being worked out, Andre Schmidt and Matt McCrane. They also worked out a couple NFL vets as well, which we'll talk about in a second. An interesting situation in Baltimore as well. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. He continues to miss practice. He's dealing with an illness. He originally came back a day earlier this week, got sick again on the field, had to go back into the facility and has not returned since. So, yeah.
That's pretty rough.
NFI list, Patriots running back Antonio Gibson. Eagles rookie defensive back Cooper DeJean dealing with a hamstring injury. 3 weeks was the diagnosis for him, so big blow to his rookie camp. However, 3 weeks gives him a decent timeline to come back. Probably around week 2 preseason, I think, is around where he would be. So, hopefully. Browns corner Greg Newsome dealing with a hamstring injury, and running back Nyheim Hines. He's coming back from that torn ACL last year. Lions corner Carlton Davis, wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones, defensive back Amik Robertson, and wide receiver Traquan Smith, all on the NFI. Pup list, Dolphins wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., minor injury for him, not going to be anything to worry about. Giants offense tackle Evan Neal, Rams tight end Tyler Higbee. He is also coming back from ACL surgery. That one was late, though. That one happened in the playoffs. Patriots wide receiver Kendrick Bourne and guard Cole Strange. Raiders rookie offensive lineman Jackson Powers Johnson, wide receiver Jalen Guyton, and offensive tackle Colton Miller. 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw coming off the torn Achilles in the Super Bowl. Safety Talanoa Hufanga and edge rusher Drake Jackson. Browns running back Nick Chubb, offensive tackle Jack Conklin, offensive tackle Jedrick Wills Jr., and defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson, all dealing with knee injuries.
Somebody get new knees out there in Cleveland. They need them.
And the Eagles safety Sidney Brown, another guy that coming back from ACL tear last season. All right, let's talk more money. Your Vikings are the next one up here. They signed offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw, 4 years, $113 million max deal, $77 million guaranteed. Big money for the left tackle.
And much deserved. If you talk to any Viking fan and anyone that knows anything about this Christian Darrisaw guy, you understand this guy is a rock. He is going to be the guy you want at this position for 10, 15 years, as long as he stays healthy. He is probably the best, I want to say like best left tackle I've seen on the Vikings since, was Steve Hutchinson a left tackle? No, he was a left guard. Since, who was that 2009 team? I'm talking, we're going back a decade and a half to really put into perspective just how good he is on that left side. I mean, he's just remarkable, man. It's something that you can't help but be excited about. So I think this guy can be a top 5 offensive lineman in the entire league. In his prime. I think he's getting very close to it. So yeah, this makes a ton of sense. for the Vikings. Phil Loadhut was the guy I was thinking of. Phil Loadhut when he was at his peak. This reminds me a lot of Phil Loadhut. So yeah, I mean he's incredible. He's going to be the guy for a long time. So locking him up and Jefferson up in the same offseason while getting what you hope to be your next franchise quarterback. I mean, this is kind of what you want to be as a young rebuilding team.
Yeah, very important to have the protection for the young guy. As Bryce Young knows,
you need it.
Yeah, really helps the development for sure. Jags, they signed corner Tyson Campbell, 4 years, $76.5 million, $53.4 million guaranteed. And he now becomes the highest paid corner ever to not make a Pro Bowl. So interesting there for Jacksonville locking Campbell up. But yeah, I mean, he's been productive. They're hoping he takes the next step and becomes that elite player. So yeah. And the Seahawks, they signed safety Julian Love, 3 years, $36 million extension there. Productive player, had a career year last season, and now in the new defense, Mike McDonald, hoping to elevate even higher. And the Patriots, they also locked up their safety Jabril Peppers, 3 years, $24 million extension, $30 million max value deal there. You know, he's been one of the best Patriots defenders since he's got there, and deserving of this new deal here as they go into the Gerard Mayo era. And a couple free agent signings. The Dolphins, they re-signed edge rusher Emmanuel Ogbah, 1 year, $5 million max deal there. Knew that was kind of going to be the case when he worked out for them back in Miami. Like I said, I think 5.5 sacks last year in limited playing time. He's going to have to play a lot early in the season, like I keep reiterating, with Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips coming off the mend. And the Colts, they signed Ravens wide receiver Laquan Treadwell. So just some more camp bodies at the wideout position. That's pretty full now in Indy. And some workouts. Talk about the Dolphins and the Panthers. They both hosted Bears edge rusher Yannick Ngakoue. The Giants, they hosted Browns wide receiver Jakeem Grant and Commanders wide receiver Byron Pringle. Patriots hosted Bengals running back Demetric Felton. Panthers also hosted Jets edge rusher Carl Lawson. They are really trying to bolster the edge position. It's one of the weaker spots now with Brian Burns gone, trying to find some veterans to help out Jadeveon Clowney there this season. And the Dolphins, they hosted Jaguars linebacker Shaq Quarterman for a workout as well. And the Lions talked about their kicker workout. The other two guys that were there, Texans kicker Matt Amendola and former Texans kicker Matt Amendola and former Rams kicker Lucas Haversick. So a quartet of kickers working out for Detroit. Hopefully they can find their next guy. Hopefully it's Matt McCrane, my DC Defender guy there. I don't know. He had the highest field goal percentage in the UFL. So just saying. They do have Jake Bates though. Still, they do have Jake Bates. So they don't believe in him apparently. They're trying to get some competition. We'll see. We'll see if Bates can do it or not. All right, that is all the news. I think. I was getting a couple of stuff, but yeah, nothing else noteworthy. So let's roll into the NFC South season preview here. starting off with defending NFC South champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 9-8 last year. Losses. This team really did not lose a ton. Guard Aaron Stinney went to the Giants. Linebacker Shaquille Barrett went to the Dolphins and then retired. Linebacker Devin White went to the Eagles, and they traded corner Carlton Davis to the Lions. The biggest Carlton Davis, obviously, is the biggest one. I think they're going to miss him. I don't think they were able to replace him, and I just think this Bucs secondary overall, or I shouldn't say overall, but the corner position, there's some stuff left. I think they're not disastrous, but Davis pretty good player. So we'll see how that works out. And additions for Tampa, they drafted Jimmy's guy, running back Bucky Irving, 4th round, 125th. Wide receiver Sterling Shepard, they signed from the Giants. They drafted wide receiver Jalen McMillan, 3rd round, 92nd. Signed offensive lineman Sua Opeta from the Eagles. Drafted offensive lineman Elijah Klein, 6th round, 220th. Center Graham Barton, drafted in the 1st round, 26th overall. Signed edge rusher Randy Gregory from the 49ers. Issue there, he hasn't shown up to camp yet. They drafted edge rusher Chris Braswell, 2nd round, 57th. Drafted defensive back Tyke Smith, 3rd round, 89th. Signed corner Bryce Hall from the Jets and safety Jordan Whitehead from the Jets as well. So I thought it was a pretty good offseason. They really didn't do a lot in free agency. I think Jordan Whitehead was definitely their best free agent signing, bringing him back to Tampa where he started his career. So the draft will be paramount, especially as injuries start occurring, as they always do. So yeah, expect some of these guys to play a decent amount, especially Tyke Smith, Bucky Irving. Graham Barton's the only rookie starter. And we'll see if Jalen McMillan can push to be the number 3 out wide or not. Nothing else on the Bucs.
Nothing else really, kind of full agreement. I like their draft class a lot. They didn't need to do too much in the offseason in terms of free agency because they didn't lose too much. They re-signed Baker and Mike Evans, which I thought was pretty smart. I like the draft class. I think they have at least 2, maybe 3 guys that can immediately come in and be productive. And I think they're running it back with mostly a similar roster, and there's nothing much to complain about, especially since they won the division and a playoff game.
Yeah, new starters at left guard and Ben Bredesen. Graham Barton, like I said, at center. And KJ Britt slides in for Devin White at inside linebacker. And then Zion McCollum is now your new starter opposite of Jamel Dean there. So, all right, on to the record here. I'll let you go first so I can do the Panthers.
Sure, no problem. All right, we got week 1 at home against Washington. I have them winning that. Going to Detroit, lose. Come back to against Denver, beat them. And then they're going to go on a little bit of a rough stretch here, weeks 4 through 7. I have them losing to Philly and Atlanta, but beating New Orleans, but then losing to Baltimore, putting them at 3-4. I have them beating Atlanta 4-4, losing to KC 4-5, losing to San Fran 4-6. So they go into bye week 4-6, but I think they have a really strong end of the season. I think they beat the Giants, beat Carolina, beat Las Vegas, making that to 6-4. I'm gonna have them lose to the Chargers, and Dallas, what does that put them at? 6 losses. So they'd be 7-6 at this point, if I remember correctly. And then no, 8 and no,
9-6.
9-6. Hold on, let me redo the math. 1-1. Oh, I got lost in a little bit. 2-2, 2-3, 3-3, 3-4, 4-4, 4-5, 4-6, 5-6, 6-6, 7-6, 7-7, 7-8. I have them going 9-8 again. I think they have a pretty tough schedule, especially on the road. I mean, you face both Kansas City and San Fran in back-to-back weeks, so it's going to be tough. Dallas on the road is going to be tough. But I think they do really decently in division, and I think that puts them ahead of most teams, basically every other team in the division. I still probably have them repeating, and 9-8 will probably be enough.
Well, you got 5-1, 4-2 division.
I had them losing to Atlanta. I don't think I had them losing to New Orleans. So yeah, 5-1.
Gotcha. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, this is the NFC South has one of the tougher schedules. Having to play the NFC East, obviously that means Philly and Dallas, but I think we could see some surprises, especially from Washington. And then they have to play the AFC West as well, which isn't that tough, but we still don't know what we're going to get with the Chargers. Obviously, the Chiefs should go 4-0 against the division. And then we got a rookie starter probably with the Broncos, and we already saw we don't really believe in the Raiders this year. So, and then the cross division games are also difficult. The NFC North, you have the NFC West, and then the AFC North as well. So all that pans out for not very well for Tampa, having to play all the first place teams. But week 1 at home against Washington, I do think they can win that. It's going to be too early for Jaden Daniels. And there's still some question marks about the Washington defense. At Detroit, they lose. They can beat Denver week 3 at home. They lose at home against Philly. Philly gets them in the rematch of the playoff game. I agree. I think they'll lose at Atlanta on Thursday night. I think Kirk will be settled down enough by then to beat them on a short week at home. So yeah, 2-3 as well. At New Orleans, I agree with you with that one. 3-3, they lose at home against Baltimore on Monday Night Football. 3-4, they do beat Atlanta. 4-4, they lose to Kansas City on Monday night. 4-5, they lose at home against San Francisco. 4-6, I agree. Into the bye, 4-6. At the Giants, they win to get to 5-6. They win at Carolina to get to 6-6. They beat the Raiders to get to 7-6 at home. At the Chargers, they lose 7-7, 7-8 at the Cowboys Sunday Night Football. They also beat the Panthers to sweep them to get to 8-8. However, they lose at home against the Saints. I do think they split with New Orleans and Atlanta. So I have 8-9, 4-2 division. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one, as this division always seems to be.
Yeah, definitely.
The Saints also finished 8-9 last year and crushed my dreams of having the NFC South championship, as I had predicted them to have. God, the Panthers just had to beat the Bucs, and they would have had it. The Panthers had the Bucs on the ropes for a second there, week 18. But losses: quarterback Jameis Winston went to the Browns. Wide receiver Keith Kirkwood to the Ravens. Guard Andrus Peat to the Raiders. Defensive end Malcolm Roach to the Broncos. Linebacker Zach Bond to the Eagles. Corner Lonnie Johnson to the Texans. Corner Isaac Yiadom to the 49ers. And safety Marcus May to the Dolphins. This was another one that it's like, I don't know if they're really going to hurt with any of these guys gone. Pete potentially, but he's been slowed by some injuries the last couple of years. And they're going with youth at quarterback. So I don't know if they're going to miss Jameis or not. Marcus May is probably the only other one that I would say potentially they'd miss. But
Yeah.
Additions, quarterback Nathan Peterman. They signed him from the Bears. They drafted quarterback Spencer Rattler, 5th round, 150th. Signed wide receiver Cedric Wilson from the Dolphins. Wide receiver Equinemius St. Brown from the Bears. They drafted wide receiver Bub Means, 5th round, 170th. Drafted offensive tackle Talise Fuaga, 1st round, 14th overall. Signed offensive lineman Lucas Patrick from the Bears. Offensive lineman Shane Lemieux from the Giants. Drafted defensive tackle Christian Boyd, 6th round, 199th. Tom Brady pick. Signed edge rusher Chase Young from the 49ers. Linebacker Willie Gay Jr. from the Chiefs. Drafted linebacker Jalen Ford, 5th round, 175th. And corner Kool-Aid McKinstry, 2nd round, 41st. I was not very impressed with the additions in New Orleans. Obviously, every single offseason, they're cap strapped. So they really can never make big splashes in free agency. Chase Young was their big splash. He was their best free agent addition. Potentially, I don't know. Maybe some people think it's Willie Gay. Can make a case, I guess. But love the Talise Fuaga drafting. Just like the Bucs, he is the Saints' only starter, rookie starter, and they got a bunch of other guys that are going to rotate in. But anything else on the Saints?
No, I mean, you covered it. Just nothing impressive in terms of additions, just because of where they are on a cap. I see this team continuing to be middling until they're just finally through their cap hell.
Which they won't be because they continue to restructure.
Yeah.
Until they go rookie quarterback, that's when it's going to open up, I think.
Yeah. Until they're done with Carr, they have to live this constant pushing against the cap situation.
All right. So the Saints open up at home against the Panthers. I think they will win that one, albeit a close game. At Dallas, they lose week 2. They lose at home against the Eagles. At Atlanta, they lose that one. 1-3, 1-4 at Kansas City on Monday Night Football. They lose at home against the Bucs. 1-5. They get some reprieve at home against the Broncos. Thursday Night Football, short week. They can win that one, I think. So 2-5. At the Chargers, I'm going to have them upsetting LA. I don't know. It's a trappy type game. Middle of the season. Chargers are sleeping on them. So 3-5. At Carolina, though, they lose that one. 3-6. I think they split with Atlanta. I think they split all 3. At home against Atlanta, they win to get to 4-6. At home against Cleveland, I think they lose. Just Cleveland's defense, I think, is too good. So 4-7 going into the bye. Dennis Allen, I think, might be heating up a little bit by this time. And I don't know. Are fans going to be chanting for Spencer Rattler? I don't know.
At this point.
At home against it doesn't get easier though. At home against the Rams, no, they're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
4-8 at the Giants. They win 5-8 at the home against the Commanders. It's another close game, but it's in New Orleans, so I think they win. 6-8 at the Packers Monday Night Football. No way they're going up into the cold and winning. So 6-9 at home against the Raiders. I think they can win. 7-9 at the Bucks. They win. 8-9. 8-9. However, 3-3 division record. That's why we do the division record, because it'll come into play.
Might be. I like everything you said, but I have them going 7-10. With the only difference between yourself and mine is that I don't see them beating the Chargers. I think by week 8, Harbaugh's system's going to be well in tuned. I think Chargers are going to have a decent system going. I think they're going to dog walk them week 8. So 7-10, still 3-3 division. Nothing to write home about this season for the Saints. Another really mediocre season, and that'll be about it.
You know what though? 7-10 might get them high enough.
It might
to get a guy.
It might.
That would mean 3 straight years drafting a quarterback. All right, to the Atlanta Falcons, 7-10 last season. Losses: they traded quarterback Desmond Ridder to the Cardinals. Wide receiver Van Jefferson went to the Steelers, as did wide receiver Scotty Miller. Wide receiver Matt Collins went to the Bills. Tight end Jonnu Smith went to the Dolphins, and offensive lineman Matt Hennessy went to the Eagles. They didn't lose any notable players on defense. Oh, I should say though, actually, I'll add one in. Defensive tackle Calais Campbell. I don't know why he wasn't on the list. I guess that's because the list that I look at on Over the Cap is dated, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, he went to the Dolphins. So. And really, he's probably the biggest loss.
Honestly.
None of the offensive losses, I think, are any meaningful. Even though Jonnu did have a good season last year. All right, additions-wise, they added a ton this offseason. Quarterback Kirk Cousins from your Vikings. Drafted quarterback Michael Penix Jr., 8th overall. Wide receiver Darnell Mooney they got from the Bears. Wide receiver Ray McLeod from the 49ers. They traded for wide receiver Rondale Moore from the Cardinals. Wide receiver Casey Washington, drafted him in the 6th round, 187th. They signed tight ends Charlie Warner and Ross Dwelley from the 49ers. Drafted defensive tackle Brandon Dorless, 4th round, 109th. Defensive tackle Ruka Rororo, 2nd round, 35th. Edge rusher Braylon Trice, 3rd round, 74th. Signed linebacker James Smith-Williams from the Commanders. Drafted linebacker J.D. Bertrand, 5th round, 143rd. And signed corner Antonio Hamilton from the Cardinals.
Not bad. Draft was a little, for me. You liked it a lot more than I did. I'm still not 100% sold on the draft. But I think their offseason was okay. I think they overpaid a little bit on Kirk. And getting Kirk and then drafting Penix was a little weird to figure out. I'm still trying to figure it out, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, I mean, not bad. I think they could compete for the division, considering how bad the NFC South is. I don't know if they'd win. A lot of things would have to go right for them to win. But yeah, I mean, they're a far better team than they were last year.
Yeah, our lads has 0 rookie starters penciled in right now.
Not super surprised.
You know, they did a ton at wide receiver. I just don't believe in the guys that they got. Mooney and Moore are replacement level at best. I mean, Mooney can play well. He did his first 2 years. His last 2 years in Chicago were iffy. Obviously, he was dealing with poor quarterback play, but we'll see. You know, McLeod's a special teams guy, and Moore has never been anything more than a trick play guy screen. Like his average depth of target, I think in Arizona was like 3 yards or something like that. Casey Washington, he's a guy I kind of like. He's a sneaky guy, good size coming out of Illinois. So he's a guy that I think could produce. The tight ends were brought in to block. It's essentially what these two guys do. And then, defensively, I like some of the rookies that they drafted. I thought it was a little overkill drafting 3 defensive tackles, but we'll see. I mean, I like Braylon Trice. They've needed pass rush, and he's going to have to step up because, by my count, he is one of their top 3 edge rushers. So, still not sold on this secondary outside of AJ Terrell and Jesse Bates, but yeah. All right, you're up first for the Falcons record here.
I got the Dirty Birds.
That start is rough.
That is a tough start. 0-3, really 0-3. I think they're not going to be ready for. I think on paper, I think they should be better than Pittsburgh, but I think they're just not going to have it week 1.
Arthur Smith revenge game, baby.
I think an Arthur Smith revenge game could be in place. I think it's going to be an ugly ass game. I'm talking like 13-9, like absolute trash. Really ugly for a week 1 game. Philly and Kansas City, I think they're just going to get dog walked. I'll have them beat New Orleans. I had them losing to Tampa, so they're 1-4. Beat Carolina 2-4. Here's a surprise one. I'm going to have them beat Seattle 3-4, but lose to Tampa 3-5. But get this. Biggest upset, I think, maybe of the season. They're going to take Dallas week 9. They're going to be 4-5. But they're going to drop to New Orleans 4-6. Beat Denver 5-6. I think they can go into Denver and win. Take the bye, come back, face the Chargers. I'm going to have them win that 6-6. I'm going to have them lose to Minnesota 6-7. Beat Las Vegas 7-7. Beat the Giants 8-7. Beat Washington 9-7. And they're going to take the division 10-7 right here. They're going to go on a hot streak at the end of the season. That's my hot take. 10-7. Atlanta, things are going to click end of the season after a tough start. They're going to get some really key wins at home against Seattle and Dallas. They're not going to do super well in division, but I think at the end of that season, after week 14, after that bye week, the hardest team they're facing are Chargers and Minnesota. I really think they can go on a real hot streak. I think they could finish the season 5-1, at worst 4-2. I think 10-7 is very realistic.
So did you have them 4-2, or did you have them getting swept by the Bucs?
I had them getting swept by the Bucs. So okay. I think 3-3 in division. I mentioned they weren't going to do super well in division, but the fact of the matter is the only team in the last 5 weeks they face in division is Carolina. Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, that's a very team-friendly end of the season. I think they could go on a streak and steal that division.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, 0-3 to start at home against the Steelers. TJ Watt wins the game with a defensive touchdown. Mark it down. At the Eagles Monday Night Football, they're gonna get killed. Eagles played very well against the Falcons for some reason. At home against the Chiefs Sunday Night Football, nope. At home against the Saints, I had them winning that one. So yeah, 1-3. At home against the Bucs Thursday Night Football. I think I also had them winning that one. Yeah, because they were 4-2. So yeah, they rebound pretty nicely, get to 3-3 because they win in Carolina. At home against the Seahawks, I think they can beat them. I don't think that's a big upset. 4-3 at the Bucs. They lose that one to get to 4-4. They lose at home against Dallas 4-5. At the Saints, they lose that one as well, 4-6. At the Broncos, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to them. I'll go 5-6 into the bye. At home against the Chargers, they lose. You were just talking about the Chargers, and you had them beating them. I just don't think the Atlanta front seven is going to be able to hold up against the Jim Harbaugh running attack. So 5-7 at the Vikings. I think they can win. Come on, man. Kirk Cousins revenge game in Minnesota. Yeah. He's going to have 303 touchdowns. So 6-7 there. They're still in it. They're still in the playoff. At the Raiders, Monday Night Football. I don't know why. It's a trap game. They lose 6-8. They're teetering now. At home against the Giants, they win to get to 7-8. At the Commanders, Dan Quinn revenge game, dude. Yeah, so 7-9. And I do think they can sweep the Panthers. So 8-9. Look at this. I got a three-way tie at the top. 4-2 in division.
The division of garbage.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the Panthers. 2-15 last year.
Nowhere to go but up.
It can only go up unless they finish 1-16 or 0-17. But losses. The running back Tariq Cohen went to the Jets. Wide receiver DJ Chark Jr. to the Chargers. Wide receiver Laviska Shenault Jr. to the Seahawks. Tight end Hayden Hurst to the Chargers. Center Bradley Bozeman to the Chargers. Edge rusher Yetur Gross-Matos to the 49ers. They traded edge rusher Brian Burns to the Giants. Linebacker Frankie Louvu went to the Commanders. Linebacker Kamu Grugier-Hill went to your Vikings. So did corner Shaquille Griffin. Corner CJ Henderson went to the Texans. They traded corner Dante Jackson to the Steelers. Safety Jeremy Chin went to the Commanders. And safety Von Bell went to the Bengals. This was the team in the division had the most turnover. GM Dan Morgan doing a ton of stuff this offseason to try to get this roster up to par and surround Bryce Young with some help. So losses wise, it's a lot, but offensively, I don't think they're going to miss any of the players. Chark had a decent season last year. Hurst never really materialized. But I think it's the defense. The defense took a ton of hits, especially in the secondary. It wasn't a great secondary to begin with, and then they lost their number one guy in Dante Jackson. So I think they're going to miss him. I think they're going to miss Brian Burns. Like that's a big one. Frankie Louvu is going to be a big miss as well. He was awesome for them. Very underrated, but very great on the field as well. All right, additions-wise, they signed running back Rashad Penny from the Eagles, drafted running back Jonathan Brooks, second round, 46th. They traded for wide receiver Deontay Johnson from the Steelers, drafted wide receiver Xavier Leggett, first round, 32nd. Drafted tight end Jatavian Sanders, fourth round, 101st. Signed offensive tackle Yosh Nijman from the Packers, guard Robert Hunt from the Dolphins, guard Damian Lewis from the Seahawks, defensive tackle Ashawn Robinson from the Giants, edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney from the Ravens, edge rusher DJ Wonnum from your Vikings, edge rusher Kaylavon Chason from the Jags, linebacker Josie Jewell from the Broncos. They drafted linebacker Trevin Wallace, third round, 72nd. Signed corner Dane Jackson from the Bills, drafted corner Sho Smith-Wade, fifth round, 157th, and signed safeties Jordan Fuller from the Rams and Nick Scott from the Bengals. I loved the Panthers offseason. Made a ton of additions that I think are going to have a big impact this year. Jonathan Brooks We'll see when he's able to get on the field from his ACL. Love the Deontay Johnson trade. I thought they won that easily. Much better player than Dante Jackson, and he gets open. That's what Bryce lacked last year, is players that could separate and get open, and Johnson does that very well. Xavier Leggett, I like the drafting. I kind of wanted some other players, but I think he'll do just fine. Love JT Sanders, even though he's not going to start as the starter this year, but I think he'll progress well. The lineman, obviously, that was a big factor. Bryce was one of the most pressured quarterbacks up the middle last year, so they solidified that. And then defensively, I think this defense is going to hopefully stay the same. They were kind of middle of the pack to bottom third of the league last year. It's not really going to get much better. The edge rush is going to be a big question with Burns gone. I'm excited to see how Onum does. Love Josie Jewell. Absolutely. I've loved Josie Jewell ever since he got drafted. One of my favorite linebackers in the league. The secondary additions are okay. I think Jordan Fuller is probably the best of the four that they added.
Yeah, I like these additions a lot. I think this team is still just pretty meh, but I think we're going to see a team that's offensively just a lot better around Bryce Young. I think the best way to describe it is instead of seeing them lose games like 7-28, you'll see them lose games 17-28 or 21-28. You know, there'll be a far more competitive team on the offensive side, and if guys like Trevin Wallace and Smith Wade can develop, and the guys that are currently there can at the very least show up, I think they won't be a cakewalk anymore. I mean, they'll still be bad. They're still definitely in the deep rebuild, but it'll at least be watchable for fans. Is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Schedule wise, at New Orleans, they lose that one week 1. At home against the Chargers, they lose. At the Raiders, again, I just don't believe in. So I think that's where Dave Canales can get his first win as the head coach. So I'm going to go 1-2. They lose at home against the Bengals, get to 1-3. At Chicago, that's a tough one. I would like to say they win. I saw them lose at Soldier Field last year on Thursday night. I would like to give them a win, but I can't. That team is just too good, and I think the secondary is going to drastically struggle with the trio of receivers that Chicago has. So 1-4 at home against the Falcons. I think I had them going 1-5 in division, only beating the Saints. So they lose that one to get to 1-5 at Washington. That's going to be a shootout, I think. Both defenses, I don't think, are that great. And I think they can beat the rookie quarterback. Washington also has some O-line concerns as well. So I think that'll be a good game for Carolina to win. So 2-6 or 2-5 there. At Denver, I think that's another team that they can beat. It's another team that's kind of in the same boat. So, and I think Carolina is better. So it's crazy, but all 3 of their wins are on the road for me right now. But they do get their first home win in week 9 against the Saints. So 4-5. It's looking good, man. We're coming to the playoffs. Because I think they can beat the Giants. The Giants don't have anything. It's in Germany. So in Munich, they lose, or they beat the Giants. They are 5-5 into the bye. Panthers fans are believing. and then the schedule turns.
Yeah, they have the opposite situation of the Falcons. They get the shit kicked out of them at the end of the season.
At home against the Chiefs, they lose. At home against the Bucks, they lose. They go to Philadelphia and lose. They host the Cowboys and lose. So it turns pretty quickly to 5-9. I think they will lose against the Cardinals as well, 5-10. And then I have them only winning once in the division. So they lose out, actually, and 5-12. But really great progression, 3+ 3 wins from last year. I think that's a solid progression for Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that, it was final 6 weeks of the season. I don't think anyone would blame them for just dropping those. Like, that's a tough schedule. But yeah, let's see what I think. New Orleans, I have them losing. Chargers losing. Raiders, I'll give them that win. Cincy, you know what? That's going to be their surprise one of the season. They're going to win Cincy. They're going to go 2-2.
You hate the Bengals this year.
I don't believe in them. I think it's because that dumbass Joe Burrow haircut.
Dude.
Looks like shit. Looks like absolute shit. He has more nicknames than playoff wins. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Week 5, I think they come back down to earth, lose Chicago 2-3, lose to Atlanta 2-4. I think they're going to lose to Washington 2-5. I think they can beat Denver, though. I'm going to give them 3-5. Did I have them beat New Orleans? I don't think I had them beating New Orleans. So 3-6. I had them losing to Giants 3-7. What was that?
I don't think you had them winning at all of the division.
No, I don't think I did. Did I? I had the Saints 3-3. I think I had them very.
But that was splitting with Atlanta sweeping the Panthers and getting swept by the Bucks.
Okay, so didn't lose to New Orleans 3-6. What was I? Lose to the Giants 3-7. Bye. Then here comes the gauntlet. Lose 3-8. Lose to Tampa 3-9. Lose to Philly 3-10. Lose to Dallas 3-11. But I'll give you Arizona. I think Arizona is kind of a weird team. I can't really gauge them. I'm gonna have them four wins there, and then lose out, end the season 4-13. I mean, it's a 2-game improvement. I think they're gonna look back at the beginning of the season. I think they could beat a team like Cincy, catch them on their heels, especially at home. I think they could beat a team like Denver. But yeah, that end of the season is just atrocious for them. I think they're gonna have double-digit losses again. But again, like I mentioned, this is going to be a team that offensively, they're going to look so much better. They're going to have a lot to build on. Bryce Young is actually going to look like a competent quarterback. He has a better offensive line. He has better targets. It's going to be a lot better offensively. It's just that defense, again, especially with losing Burns, they just don't really have anyone. They don't have a good defensive backfield. Their line is still sketchy. Their linebacker core is sketchy.
Linebackers are great. Josie Jewell and Shaq Thompson, man.
They're okay. I think I agree with you, though. Losing, what was his name? Luvu is going to be a big loss. Jewell is okay. I think Wallace is going to eventually become very solid. But yeah, I think the best position group is probably the linebacker on that defense, and their best complement would just be below average. So 4-13, I think, is pretty reasonable for them this season. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I think they had to stack wins early, as early as possible. I think really the run from week 6 to week 10 is their best chance. I think I had them going 4-1 in that stretch. Actually going 4 straight at one point with Washington, Denver, New Orleans, and the Giants. I had them winning all 4 of those games. So, yeah. All right. So, mine is a little complicated. Yours is easier. You have the Atlanta Falcons winning the NFC South. Your boy, Kirk Cousins, getting it done in year 1, coming off the ACL. 10-7, 3-3 in division.
Achilles, not ACL.
Achilles, yeah. Same.
Exact same thing.
I think I will have, because I had them splitting with Atlanta, but actually, let me see. Let me just look at the who they play in conference, because I can kind of gauge who would get the division, because conference record is the next tiebreaker. Yeah, I think I had them. Kind of similar, but I mean, I had the Falcons beating the Seahawks and the Vikings, the Giants. I can't remember if I had them beating the Commanders. I don't think I did. I think I had them losing that one. And then I had them losing to the Cowboys, which the Bucs also did.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'll probably give. Well, I'll probably give it to the Bucs. I'll give it to the Bucs. Repeat champ. 8-9, 4-2 in division. You had the Bucs in second, 9-8, 5-1 in division though. And I had the Falcons in second, 8-9, 4-2. We both had the Saints in third place. Me at 8-9, 3-3. You had them at 7-10, 3-3 as well. And we both had the Panthers in last, 5-12, 1-5 in division for me. 4-13, 0-6 for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Competitive year. Another great year in the NFC South.
The backwater division of the NFL.
The schedule makers didn't help them out.
No, they did not. They really hate that division, apparently.
All right. So that is the show for today. Next Friday is a big one. Next Friday is a big one because we will have football to talk about. An actual game will be talked about next Friday. Hall of Fame game recap. Texans against the Bears in Canton. I'm excited to watch that one on Thursday. And we'll also be done with our NFL season previews. But we'll start our college season previews because that season comes up a lot quicker. So ACC and the Pac-2 season previews next Friday as well. Going to be a good one. ACC has like 1 million teams now, so that's fun. But yeah, make sure to check us out on Monday. We'll finish up our NFL season previews with the NFC West and preview the Hall of Fame game as well. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. And we will see y'all back on Monday.